The forest had always been there, stretching like a dark ocean of trees behind the small mountain town of Red Hollow, a place where people spoke in whispers once the sun went down, where the locals warned travelers not to wander past the wooden fence that marked the boundary between safety and something older, something hungry. For decades, stories were told of people vanishing, of strange lights flickering through the trees, of a woman's laughter echoing deep in the woods long after midnight. Evelyn Moore never believed any of it. She was a wildlife photographer, rational and grounded, and when she was assigned to document the wildlife of Red Hollow Forest, she saw only an opportunity, a chance to capture raw nature and rebuild her fading career. But the forest was patient, ancient, and it waited for her the way a predator waits for a heartbeat to stumble. Evelyn arrived just before dusk, her SUV packed with cameras, food, and camping gear. The trees loomed like sentinels, their black branches scratching against the orange horizon. Locals stared at her as she drove past the old diner. Faces pale, eyes hollow. One man even muttered, "Don't go after dark." She smiled politely and ignored him. She pitched her tent near a stream that whispered through the mossy stones, its sound almost soothing. As the sun slipped away, the forest exhaled. It was subtle at first, the wind dying down, the crickets silencing one by one, leaving behind an unbearable stillness that pressed against her ears. Then she heard it, the faint sound of humming. A woman's voice, soft and haunting, drifting through the trees. Evelyn froze. The sound seemed distant, yet close enough that she could feel it brushing against her neck like cold breath. She turned on her flashlight and scanned the woods. Nothing. Only endless trunks and shadows shifting with her trembling light. "Probably wind," she muttered, trying to steady her breath. But the forest was no longer quiet. It was listening. That night, as she lay inside her tent, she dreamed of a woman in white, her face obscured by tangled hair, standing beneath a bleeding moon. The woman whispered Evelyn's name, over and over, until she woke up gasping, her heart hammering in her chest. The humming hadn't stopped. It was louder, circling her tent. Evelyn clutched her camera and unzipped the flap, stepping out into the darkness. Her flashlight flickered, and for a moment she saw something. A figure standing between two trees, motionless. The woman in white. Evelyn raised her camera instinctively and snapped a photo, the flash slicing through the night. The figure vanished. The forest swallowed the light, leaving her in suffocating blackness. When morning came, Evelyn found footprints near her tent, bare feet, small, leading into the deeper woods. Against every instinct, she followed them. The forest grew denser, the air heavy with decay and rot. She found bones, animal bones, cracked and piled beneath an old oak, and among them, a rusted locket half buried in dirt. She opened it and froze. Inside was a photo of a young girl, pale, wide-eyed, standing beside a woman who looked exactly like the one from her dream. On the back of the photo, faint words were scratched. "She calls from the roots." Evelyn tried to rationalize it, some local legend, maybe staged by pranksters, but the forest felt alive now, pulsing, breathing. That evening, the fog rolled in thick and suffocating. She decided to pack up, but when she turned toward the trail, it was gone. Every direction looked the same. The trees seemed to shift when she wasn't looking, closing in around her. Her GPS flickered, then died. Panic gnawed at her chest. She started running, branches tearing at her face, her breath breaking in sobs. The humming returned, louder now, wrapping around her like a lullaby gone wrong. Evelyn, the voice whispered her name from everywhere and nowhere. She stumbled into a clearing and froze. In the center stood an ancient tree, its trunk twisted, bark blackened, as if burned. From its roots hung shapes, ropes? No, hair, human hair, long strands woven into the roots like offerings. Faces seemed carved into the bark, distorted in silent screams. Evelyn backed away, trembling, her camera clicking uncontrollably as if possessed. One photo after another captured fragments, the faces, the roots, the faint outline of the woman standing beside the tree, her hair floating as if underwater. Evelyn turned and ran, but the forest shifted, leading her back again and again to the same cursed clearing. The woman's voice grew clearer, more melodic, whispering promises of peace if Evelyn would only join her beneath the soil. By nightfall, Evelyn's flashlight died completely. She relied on her camera's flash to see, each burst of light revealing something worse. The tree, bleeding sap like black tar, the ground crawling with pale hands pushing through the soil, reaching for her ankles. She screamed, stumbling backward, snapping photos as she went. The last flash revealed the woman inches from her face, eyes hollow, mouth stretched into a grin too wide to be human. Then darkness consumed everything. When she awoke, the sun was shining weakly through the trees. Her camera lay beside her, covered in dirt. Disoriented, she walked until she found her SUV parked exactly where she'd left it, as if she'd never left camp. She drove straight back to town, shaking, and locked herself in her motel room. But when she checked her camera, every photo was black, except one. It showed her tent, empty, the forest behind it twisting like a living thing. And in the corner, barely visible, was her own reflection in the locket's glass, except her eyes were missing. She fled Red Hollow that morning, but the humming followed her. It came from the car radio, from the wind through her window, from the whisper of the trees, even miles away. She tried to ignore it, tried to forget, but the more she resisted, the louder it became. One night, she woke in her apartment to find her window open and the smell of damp soil filling the room. Footprints, bare, small, led from the window to her bed. The locket she'd buried back in the forest lay on her pillow, open, the photo inside replaced by her own face, her mouth stitched shut with hair. Evelyn screamed and threw it across the room, but when she looked again, it was gone. The humming was inside her head now, constant, endless. She stopped leaving the house, her eyes sunken, her voice barely a whisper. Neighbors said she muttered to herself about the roots beneath the floor. Weeks later, she disappeared. The police found her apartment filled with soil, vines snaking up the walls. Her camera sat on the table, still recording. The footage showed Evelyn standing in front of the lens, smiling faintly, whispering, "She's waiting for you." Then the frame glitched, and in the final second, a woman's hand reached from behind her, pulling her into darkness. Months later, hikers found a new tree at the edge of Red Hollow Forest, its bark black, its roots tangled around a shape that looked eerily human. When the wind blew just right, it sounded like humming, and the forest waited again.